Alright, so you got your first ornithopter. You watched my video on basic flight. You've been flying around for a few hours and you feel like it's time to take the advanced course. And so here you are. Today what I'd like to show you is 3 advanced ornithopter techniques I think can be applied and combined in interesting ways to make for some very dynamic and fun flight controls. The first 2 of these can be undertaken without power, without thrusters. So we're going to show you those first, and then we'll show you the one that you are required to have thrusters to do. And then we'll move on from there about how to combine that with your turns, to escape your directionality, to escape enemies with rocket launchers and things like that while you're out in the deep desert in PvP. For some reason, my thruster is broken. It keeps activating for no reason, but whatever. We're going to get into this. So the first one that you've got is just a dive 180, and it's real simple. You'll see on the right hand side that if you hold right click, you get this free look, right? Your vehicle no longer turns with you. That's important for a lot of these. Having good timing with activating that free look will help you complete these much faster. But if we go into our vulture mode here, we get ourselves centered out going at a nice clip. If we hit our free look and then just dive and hold that dive until we flip over, we can actually just pull a 180 in a dive there. All you have to do is hold your W key in order to do that, because the pitch control is relative to the vehicle, not relative to the world map. So as you push that W key and force yourself forward, you're going to continue that directionality through that vertical space, and you're just going to keep pushing W, and it's going to take you right over into that roll. Now you can also do the same thing from an inverted position. This is actually what Maverick did in Top Gun when he flipped the bird to the enemy pilot. So you get yourself flipped over, you get control here, and then you're going to push the other direction, right? You're going to hit the S key because you're going to be shoving in the opposite direction, and you're just going to take that bad boy right over just like that. And there we are with our 180. We don't have to do the roll at the end because we did the roll at the beginning there. So that's your dive 180. Now, this can be turned into a lot of different things, right? It doesn't have to be necessarily a dive 180. It could be a dive 90 degree, for example. It's all basically the same mechanically, but it does get a little more complicated when you try and turn a direction change in there. So let's see if I can get it. It is going to be pretty difficult, but if we dive this down, and as we're getting down instead, we allow ourselves, whoops, I didn't hold my right click, so I didn't get my free look there. This is really difficult. You're going to have to try a lot and work really hard to get this, but we're going to see if we can do it here real quick. I've been practicing for about 12 hours to get these maneuvers down. Hopefully they look easier than they actually are, but they are quite complicated. So we're going to hold our right look and we're going to push this down, and then we're going to try and rotate ourselves a little and drive through that in the 90 degree instead of in the 180. And so now we've sort of turned to the right. Now you might ask yourself, well, Hermit, you lost almost all of your altitude there. Why didn't you just turn, right? Because you can't totally do that. You can just go right here and just hit this turn. And the reason that you don't just do that turn is because your opponent can just see you do that, and they can just follow you. Right? If you make things a little more complicated for them, if you obfuscate how you're going to be changing directions a little bit, and you use slightly more difficult maneuvers, then they're going to have some problems trying to keep up. They're going to crash into the ground. They're going to lose sight of you. You're going to be able to get away or turn the tables. The next maneuver that we want to look at is we want to look at the stall, right? We did the dive. That's going down. Now we're going to do the stall. The stall is coming up. This is another Maverick Top Gun move, but you're just going to come up here. You're going to hit the brakes. They're going to fly right by, and then you go right back down into your dive, and you follow them. Right, so this is that quintessential Maverick move. You hit the brakes, and they fly right by. The next thing that you're going to want to do out of this is a stall into a direction change. So we're going to hit our vulture mode here. We're going to go forward. We're going to pull up into that stall. As we hit the apex of that stall, we're going to go ahead and hold our right mouse click so that we get our free look. And then we're going to go into basically a dive, that same dive that we were doing before. Where we did our dive 180, we're basically going right into that out of the stall. So we'll watch that again, and you can take a look right here. We're going to go gliding, we're gliding, we're gliding. We're going to go into a stall. At the apex of our stall, we hit our right click. We start flying down. We're going to start doing that sort of leaf maneuver. We get ourselves evened out, and we pull our 180. Again, this is actually a great way to go ahead and escape, because most people, when they hit that stall, right, their vehicle is going to start going into this leaf maneuver. We took advantage of that leaf maneuver to make that 180 turn, but most people are going to do like I did right there. They're going to crash into the ground. They're going to have to go back into their helicopter mode, and that's going to slow them down a lot and make it so that they can't keep up with you, that they can't get back on target, get back behind you, and give you an opportunity to change the game. And the last maneuver we want to look at here is actually a powered maneuver. It's basically the same kind of 180, but all you're going to do is you're going to hit your thruster, hit your right click, and just turn us over the top. This is actually the easiest way to pull a 180, right? The thruster makes that extremely simple. You know, you hold your right click so that you don't have to worry about keeping track of your wing locations and stuff like that, and it all works out really well. Now, again, I mentioned before that ultimately these maneuvers don't really seem to do it, right? It feels a lot like your opponent could just follow you with these, and that's absolutely true, which is why we need to go ahead and find a way to combine these maneuvers with something else. And what we're going to combine it with is a turn. So what you're going to see me do now is I'm going to pull a left-hand turn, and then I'm going to use a dive 180 to actually take myself to the right instead. So we're going to pull a left-hand turn, and then I'm going to keep that rotation going. I'm going to pull a 180 right there in the turn, and I'm going to get myself back on here. And now I'm going in the totally other direction. The other person absolutely could have tried to follow me, right? If somebody was on my tail there, they could have absolutely tried to follow me, but it's not a super easy move to control. It's not a super easy move to do. And the more difficult you make it to follow yourself, the better a pilot your opponent is going to have to be before they have to save themselves with transferring over to that helicopter mode to try and get themselves some altitude back. Now, we can also do the same thing with the stall maneuver. So we can pull right in here, right? And we're going to do that left-hand turn again. Oops. We're going to do that left-hand turn again. So we hit our roll. We start our left-hand turn, and this time we roll it back into a stall. Now, that stall happens at the apex of that stall. We push our nose forward. We flip around, and we come back to an upside-down flight path. We get our roll going on. And there we are. That was not particularly good there. I actually did that pretty poorly. I'm gonna get eaten by the worm. But as you can see, these are not really easy maneuvers. And if you force your opponent to fly in an advanced manner like this, they're not going to be able to keep up with you. And the last and probably the easiest way to do this is with the thruster. Now, you can't have a thruster and a missile launcher on your ornithopter, your scout ornithopter. So if you have your thruster, you're just going to be in escape mode. And so you're going to really be able to outrun missiles anyway. But we can do this with a thruster, right? You go into this, you go back up, you hit your thruster, you pull your 180. I did a pretty poor job there of it. We're going to actually try that one again. I didn't like that. So we're going to come over here. We're going to come into our turn. We're going to go into like we're doing a stall. We're going to hit our thruster. And we're just going to pull it. My thruster's not working. There was no thrust there. I went straight into a stall. That was fun. Gonna get this real quick. Alright. So we get ourselves into a nice turn. We're gonna pull that like we're going into a stall. We're gonna hit our thruster. The thruster is not working. Can you please? Okay. There my thruster goes. I may need to hit the thruster earlier. Maybe because I'm at such a low speed. The thruster is just not activating itself. Maybe I need to already be going faster. Now it's just auto-activating. The thrusters are being real janky right now. I'm a little confused by what's going on, but let's try this again here real quick. You're going to get into your turn. You're going to be turning. You're going to pull like you're going into a stall. You're going to hit the thruster. There we go. The thruster worked. You're just going to shove it over into a 180, do your roll. And there it goes. I don't know why my thruster wasn't working. We're going to try this one more time. So you're going to hit your turn. Nice smooth turn. You're going to roll it like you're going into a stall. You're going to hit your thruster. You're going to pull it right over. Even though my thruster died on that one, we still kind of got it. And you're going to go over. I don't know why my thrusters are being janky right now. But as you can see, the key here is just trying to incorporate some of these stalls and rollovers and 180s into your regular turns, into your regular flight patterns, just to obscure a little bit what it is you're trying to do while you're trying to escape your opponent. So I want to thank you all for coming and taking a look at this advanced flight guide. It really is a lot of fun to fly these ornithopters. As a bonus, actually, I already forgot one here. There's the wobble corkscrew. If you press down in a direction at the same time, you can do this nice fun wobble corkscrew. Super duper easy. Alright, so I want to thank everybody for coming out. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And I stream live every single day over on YouTube and Twitch at Survival Hermit. So come check me out. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you on the dunes of Arrakis.